and digital native ecosystem. Guided by our accomplished moderator, Mr. Daya Prakash, and joining him on the panel are remarkable leaders who stand at the forefront of technological innovation. Mr. Ninad Raje, the Director and CIO of Health Assurance, Mr. Akshat Mohan Sharma, the CPTO of EduBridge India, Mr. Chitranjan Kesari, the CIO of Idemeum Inc., and Mr. Krishnakant, the founder and CTO of Bookmatic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, come on, can we welcome our moderator and our panelists for the next session with a huge round of applause?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I think after such a wonderful session, we are here again. Discussion is going to continue on the cloud itself. The topic of this discussion is digital frontiers, harnessing cloud innovation in this startup and digital native ecosystem. So this is the third session we are having in terms of panel discussion. The first one was dedicated onto the enterprises. The second one was more on the women leadership, which kind of had representation from startup as well as enterprises. So we got diverse views to hear on the ecosystem, on the cloud adoption and the journey. This session is more focused on the startup side, and I am sure that this is like a different ball game, different mindset, and there is plenty to learn from this session. So even though the topic remains same, but I think the perspectives, the whole intent of these sessions and discussions is basically to hear a lot of perspective and see what is the diversity that is coming out and what is something that we can learn out of this session. So before I start this session, I would like to request my esteemed panelists here to introduce themselves and introduce their startup as well by taking a minute or so maybe. So I will start with Mr. Krishnakant Mane. To start with you, Mr. Krishnakant.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Krishnakant Mane, founder and CTO of Bookmatic Private Limited. The name itself has come from bookkeeping and automatic. So we have created India's first accounting automation system, which is a SaaS-based service for micro and small enterprises, which helps them reduce their compliance cost by 80%. Besides, we also provide accounting automation API for fintech services. And I have 20 years of experience in IT, been an advisor to the Ministry of IT in Brazil as well as Malaysia, also to Tamil Nadu and Kerala government, and also a panelist on India Internet Governance Forum. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Krishnakant. Mr. Akshat, if I may request you to introduce yourself and your venture.
Thank you, Daya. Hi, good evening, everyone. I presently work with EduBridge, which is essentially in the upskilling and career building space. So we have, we typically have our learners in 0 to 4 years experience range, and in most of the cases, their first white-collar jobs are landed through us. So we mobilize, train, place. I myself come from a mix of B2B and B2C world, primarily having spent time in media in the last 10 years. But otherwise, before that, it has been health tech, BFSI. So I was the product head of Z5 and the head of Woot, where I was managing the advanced technologies. But presently in the edtech world, there are different kind of use cases, realms that I am also getting familiar with. So we'll be happy to discuss about some of those as we go on today.
So just one point I wanted to clarify. This EduBridge is, you mentioned 0 to 4 years. Is it the tech or non-tech, or it is all encompassed in terms of learning, skilling? You focus on particular area?
Okay. So there are actually two sides, B2B2C, wherein we have our corporate clients like Capgemini. So their CSR funds are mobilized through us, wherein we discuss what kind of courses do they want to offer. And then that's the construct which has a mix of tech as well as non-tech.
Okay.
On the D2C side, it is primarily tech, BFSI, and now of late we have also partnered with AWS. So in fact, we do offer our cloud learnings as well.
Excellent, excellent. Look forward to hearing your view. Mr. Ninad.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, thank you to SME Ventures and the organizers for having us here tonight. I think it's a very eclectic gathering here. The virtual who and who of technology and startups as well. My name is Ninad Raje. I'm a part of HealthAssure. I'm the CPO, CITO for HealthAssure. In fact, I originated from US, was there for the longest time, but then thought that there are a lot of things to be sort of done in India. And here I am to serve all our brothers and sisters in India in the health tech space. So HealthAssure is primarily into primary healthcare. We are servicing almost all the countrymen in India throughout 1500 cities in India, which pretty much takes care of the entire length and breadth of India. Today we are known as Amazons of primary healthcare. So if it's primary healthcare, we would be able to provide all the services that come under primary healthcare, right? Which is basically your day-to-day healthcare, and we are also present in 90 plus countries. We provide our services in 90 plus countries in the world. So tomorrow, if you're traveling somewhere and you need healthcare, we're the people to kind of look into.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Mr. Chitranjan.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Chitranjan Kesari. I am handling the Idemeum India business here in this region, in APAC region. Basically, Idemeum is doing identity and access management. We are doing research on passwordless technology, passwordless for fintech, passwordless for hospitals and healthcare. And basically, we are working in US and this region. And this is a Series A funded company and growing very fast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Maybe, Akshat, if I can come to you. We've heard a lot about cloud and, cloud innovation and stuff like that, actually. So, my question to you, and I'll come to each one of you. My question to you is, when the idea of this startup came in your mind, right? Did you also think about it that, okay, this is my idea, this is the business problem that I want to solve, and to solve this business problem, I definitely want to have a tech solution around me. And if there is a tech solution, should I go for cloud or I don't go for cloud? It's a different mindset. So help us understand that the idea building to, the journey where cloud becomes, I just want to know whether the cloud becomes a given thing or it is something that you have to consider as a strategy or something like that. So just to understand that.
Okay. Probably towards the end, I'll also share perspective from 2014 when we had started contemplating on cloud when I was with Viacom meeting. But I'll first talk about the startup side. See, the day you start, that day you are both the chief officer as well as the chief janitor, right? And because of which you have to set everything. Now, honestly speaking, on day one, cloud is not my concern, right? In fact, but at the same time, so I was hearing Shweta talk about the transition from probably 5 to 10% people on cloud having smartphones in SME, and then probably in 2023 around 90-95 people. So effectively, those 90-95% on people on day one are on cloud, because even at zero upfront cost, you are using WhatsApp or your email ID. So there is some level of data that you have already started passing on to the cloud. Right? Now the first thing that goes through my mind is the product market fit. Now, if I wear the lenses, first thing is I have to develop the solution for which my personal laptop is good enough to set as a dev environment. Now the other thing is when I look at deployment and the consumption side. So if there is something where my go-to-market strategy is very localized, let's say I am trying to target a particular institute or a specific tier 2 or a tier 1 city to onboard, actually it doesn't make much of a difference where I am servicing them from. But if I am keeping my fingers crossed on day one, that it will explode and through word of mouth journey itself. If I am looking at scaling up my tech solutioning team, then in that case, I want them to be able to work collaboratively, because of which even if I am not native, I'm not cloud native, I would have probably used some license tool which is on cloud, whose license I'm using. So on day one, I know, so the best part is, I mean, on day one of a startup, you don't have too much of predictability into how many people will you be serving. You want to be a unicorn. And that is the good part. In a big organization, so now I'll talk briefly about 2014 when I was implementing SAP with Viacom 18. So the world was not going to change in the next 2-3 years. So on day one, you need to know your sizing, because ultimately whether you will be able to play in that arena for including the real estate, physical aspects for the next 3 years. So you have to look at the TCO for 3 to 5 years. You have to look at the sizing for the next 3 to 5 years. In startup, because I have no predictability, I only have hope. That's why cloud becomes, so for not everybody on day one understands this space. I was fortunate to have at least some idea about it. So I knew this made sense. I did not want to invest my time. Forget about money. I did not want to invest my time in managing the pipelines or any kind of bandwidth or infrastructure aspects by setting up a server in-house. And that's where I was hoping to, and let's say when I get to, forget about 1 to 10, but even 0.5 to 1 journey, that's where things burst. But that's a good problem to have. And at that time, I want to focus on growth and scale, not in managing the transition from what I have done in terms of optimizing for the cost and then getting to the market.
Sure. Thank you so much, Akshat. Thank you so much. Mr. Krishnakant, I heard your story. I was there in the session, but there are a lot of people who might not be around at that point of time, right? So help us understand your journey of starting up, Bookmatic, and when did you realize that this is on cloud, or, something like that? So
I'll just take one extra minute. A lot of people are here. I think most of them are from the technology side. Myself being a tech entrepreneur, let me tell you this. So I came in the industry in 2003, which means I was doing my engineering since, let's say, 1997, 98, and it's a long story. But we were still having servers, mainframe servers, there were dumb terminals, and there was network, and there was everything. What exactly has now, because this is a question my domain expert asked me, he's a chartered accountant, we being an accounting service, care service providers, we naturally need a domain expert. He asked me one day, what has changed? Like, he's like, yaar, aap log to purane bottle mein nahi sharab bech rahe, what you're talking about cloud and all. So you see, what cloud actually has changed in terms of the arena and the contextuality of the technology is it's virtualized, distributed, collaborative flow management. What it means is that, firstly, it's virtualized. Nowadays, even virtual machines have gone, their history now. It's all about Docker and Kubernetes and all. I'm not getting into a lot of technical stuff, but it's virtualization of virtualization, basically. Contained processes. They are distributed, which means now, we were talking about education some time back. You see, even the education has to change now. You have to think in terms of, there's one form of music which I really personally hate. It might be good or bad. I personally hate remix. You are actually going to mix and match different service providers, different microservices, and that is the way you are going to architect your technology, which means cloud is collaborative. And the entire flow is distributed. You are going to have, very soon you will listen to something called as algorithm as a service. The data as a service is there. Software as a service is their platform. Of course, that is the way cloud works. You are going to have companies who are just going to provide you algorithms for your data as a service, which means it's collaborative, distributed, and virtualized. That's how the cloud is for us. So talking about Bookmatic, for us, there were only two things. Number one, we need to use data science and automate the most, I wouldn't shy away from saying, everyone would agree that the most boring and unwanted task which always takes the backseat is accounting. Just like, paying toll tax is something which we don't want, and what some smart person did, he created FASTag, which automatically does that task which you anyways don't want to really take in your hands. So we wanted to automate it, and secondly, we wanted to see to it that it reaches everyone. Now, whatever we would want to say, slowly people are coming down to using QR codes and all, even on your bhaji ka thela, they have this now. So which means that internet is spread, 4G and 5G has really leveraged the things. I don't know how soon we will become a superpower and all, it's all good to say, but one thing is for sure, technologically, cloud, I think for financial services or for health services or to a great extent for educational services, because education mein kabhi-kabhi thoda physical touch lagta hai, but and insurance and stuff like that, cloud for us was given because we wanted to solve a problem which is faced by every small and micro, in fact it's faced by every organization, but medium and large scale enterprises would have their dedicated accountants and they can afford to pay them. Our micro businesses can't do that, so we wanted to solve it and do it in a way that even their accountants don't find it tedious. So today, their accountants just log into their system and without doing any data entry, they get their profit and loss balance sheet, all other talk about ledgers, trial balances, everything ready-made without involving any accounting data entry. You don't need knowledge. So in a nutshell, for us, cloud was given. I mean, if we were to do, by the way, I developed a free software called GNU. That's an open source software, which was now not cloud-based. You have to download it and use it. And Kerala government is still, using it for educational purpose and stuff. But then if you have to sustain it and you have to reach every nook and cranny and you want to see to it that everyone has access to the inclusivity, then cloud was given for us. And that's how we scaled, because if we had had it to be downloaded and used, something like the old style, it would have never worked for us. So for scaling and for, in fact, that was the first thing our investors had in mind, that you need to cloud, you leverage cloud and see to it that it reaches everywhere. So that's how for us cloud was a given thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Krishna. Mr. Chitranjan, Dr. Chitranjan, you spoke about identity access management services and solutions built by your company, and you're kind of, providing to the end customers, right? Very simple question to you is that set of services, solutions, whether it is hardware related solutions, whatever your company is offering today to the end customers, right? Think of it, cloud was not there. Think of it, right? What part of it do you think that was possible, not possible, and something which was there in terms of cloud, so you never had to think about it and you could just seamlessly go there? If you can help us understand a little bit of that.
In our solutions, whatever we have generated, if cloud is not there, then again the hard token based, RSA based, whatever the companies are using. But the problem is that why cloud and why SaaS based solutions we have created. Because if suppose someone is looking for that, we have to implement this solution on in-house or in their premises or in their software. This is not possible at all, because if suppose we are going to modify something or some patches is going to come, then again and again you have to generate and update the patches. That's why the identity and access management companies are using SaaS-based platform. Either you can say Cisco Duo, either One Cosmos, either Idemeum. We are on the same path, but the leaders like RSA and all, they are still using the hardware tokens in banks and all, and people are struggling. If real identity you want, then the cloud and SaaS is the only way. Otherwise, this is not possible at all.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll come to you, Ninad. You were setting up, HealthAssure. You had certain idea in your mind, right? And you knew where it is going to be adopted, right? Whether it is tier 2, tier 3 cities or tier 4, 5, 6 cities, all that. And then you knew that there is going to be a global footprint as well, right? When you were thinking about this whole idea, were you thinking about the idea and the cloud just being there in terms of adoption or something that, simply happened, or in terms of strategy, you had to plan something, think of all those cases, use cases, scenarios, and then say that I'm going to build my system like this so that, it is scalable, it is agile and stuff like that. So what was the thought process when you were envisaging this whole initiative?
All right, so I'll keep it very short. Not at all. I was not thinking about all these aspects, technology, agility, cloud, because when it comes to health, people are not aware.
Right.
Okay, people talk about their health only if there is an incident. To be very, very honest, People like us, including myself, we don't think about our health at all, right? So my first job was to spread awareness, and there are two aspects to this. One is spreading awareness and educating masses about health, healthcare, why it is important for prevention rather than curative, right? The second aspect is, when you talk about health, we can't discount doctors. Doctors are an essential part of any healthcare ecosystem, right? Now imagine we have to deal in one hand, we have to deal with people who are not aware of healthcare. On the other hand, we have to deal with a physician, a clinician sector which believed in touch, which believed in looking at the patient, which believed in looking at the pulse of the patient. And here we are talking about, you don't have to do all those things. We are going to give you technology. We're going to bring to you technology. You stay where you are. Even though your patient probably is 1,000 kilometers, 1,000 miles away from you, you still will be able to deliver the treatment that is absolutely required. So my job, my challenge was starting from spreading awareness, making sure we bring the doctor community, the clinician community, the physician community together, and the patient community together, right? Sure. So that was where we started. As we went along, we of course traveled the entire length and breadth of India. And believe you me, when I'm saying this, there was absolutely zero awareness about healthcare. Absolutely zero awareness, right? And the other sectors, education sector, manufacturing sector, at least there is a lot of awareness, right? Here there is zero awareness and zero adoption. So all we had to do is go town to town, city to city, village to village, making sure that we spread the word, we ensure that whatever we deliver in terms of technological sort of prowess, our product is meeting the standards and ensuring that people get well. If they are ill, they get well. So that is something which we started with. That was the premise that we started with. So I was not even thinking about technology, cloud, agility, and so on and so forth. As we progressed, right, obviously this entire cloud infra came into picture. And as we grew, as we spread our wings within India and overseas, obviously it dawned onto us that it is absolutely critical for us to adopt the cloud infrastructure and technology. Otherwise, we are not going to make it. Because if we have to service the entire population of, say, for example, different countries, millions and millions of people, how are you going to reach them? How is a doctor going to reach them? And that's where the cloud technology came into picture. And then, of course, we built our ecosystem stack, tech stack, our apps, and so on and so forth, which includes telemedicine, which includes teleconsults, which includes video consults. Even today, I can just flip on my app, and I will have a senior surgeon from, say, for example, the most popular and the best known centers in the world, say, for example, John Hopkins in the US, right? And he will be available, he or she will be available on the app, and he will deliver the appropriate sort of diagnosis, perform the appropriate diagnosis, provide the services, and then we can go ahead and get the medicines delivered internally. So that's exactly where we started. And of course, it's a very long journey. Probably we don't have a time right now to explain the entire journey.
Absolutely. But this is so good to know, actually. So I'm just wondering, hearing all of you, I'm just wondering that, people used to talk about growth, and then there is this inorganic growth, there is this organic growth, right? And we heard so many years taken by so many large corporates in terms of growing to where they are today, and then we are talking about suddenly inorganic growth. Is it something that, cloud is available, so, people are thinking of inorganic growth versus what they could think of in terms of achieving only organic growth? So it's so wonderful to know that. Mr. Krishnakant, you spoke about Bookmatic, and you spoke about the kind of impact that you're creating. You're trying to reach out to people, right? And this is deep rural areas that you're trying to penetrate in terms of providing them the basic solution, the basic solution to the problem that they face in terms of bookkeeping, accounting, right? I mean, so on one hand, we all know that cloud is something that is given. Cloud, it's just not possible. It wasn't possible without the cloud being there. But with your experience, would you like to share anything with us in terms of where you still think that cloud still has certain limitation that in terms of the impact that you guys want to create through your initiatives, there are still some areas where cloud has to kind of mature to be able to create that kind of an impact. But I'll start with you, Mr. Shrikant.
Okay, now let me wear the entrepreneurial hat. You see, there are challenges, but those challenges itself are another opportunity. Now, talking about the one big challenge is now, as far as finance is concerned, it's no more of an awareness thing. People know these things. People are using, their banking apps on the phone, which again connect to cloud and stuff. So it's there, QR code. Everyone knows it loudly announces how much you are paid. I mean, I somehow become very uncomfortable because the entire market comes to know मैंने कितने रुपए का खरीदी किया है. So, and then that Amitabh voice, Devyar Sajano, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद kind of thing. I don't know to whom the dhanyavad is, to payer or the giver or the receiver. But there is a problem wherein they think that, there are two major sectors in this market where security is anyways concern for everyone, but for two sectors, and fortunately we have the other sector also here, health and finance. If you are working with people's health or if you are working with people's money, these are the two sectors where security becomes a prime concern. And to convince people that, this is absolutely, because every third party now says it is secured. Now, some years back, only technical people like yours truly would know what encryption means. Now, you must have noticed off late, right from WhatsApp, a lot of people start talking in their advertisements about end-to-end encryption. Now, mind you, every second for an ad on television would cost like lakhs of rupees. Still, they want to talk about something which was only known to technical people, which means now people have become aware, but half awareness is a challenge because now they think, oh, my data might not be secured. What about that? The second thing is, okay, security from whom? I might be giving them security from all other people, but what about me? So again, this, first of all, carrying the ethics on your shoulders, you have to be extremely ethical when you're dealing with people's data, especially financial and personal health data. And secondly, to make people understand and convince them that yes, we are like protecting your data and we don't see your data really speaking. Now to do this, technically I can explain to anyone how I'm doing it and I can prove it. But to explain to my clients how I'm doing it, so I have to be from a doctor, doctor's line. Like for example, if I have a fracture just below my shoulder, a doctor might write there is a crack in 1/3 humerus, But a patient is told that, you have a fracture in your upper arm. So I have to translate in that language, and that actually is a challenge. And apart from the fintech, I will tell you the opportunity is with IoT and wearables and the biotechnology. I said this in the afternoon session also, that there are going to be wearables in human bodies or on the human bodies, which is going to be connected through cloud. And that is where the new avenue has come and also poses risks and challenges.
Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Akshat, we heard about cloud, this thing. So I want to come to you and I want to ask you, in your journey of, EduBridge, you've adopted cloud, so that's given actually. So at any point of time, do you think that, from a costing point of view, right, what are your views in terms of, what would be your advice to people in terms of when they evaluate cloud, when they assess cloud, when they adopt cloud, right? What are the things that they should be taking care of?
Fair question. See, okay, actually, I heard a lot of panelists talk about OPEX versus CAPEX, right? And when we generally try to look at cloud from the perspective of cost optimization instead of scaling avenues or user experience optimization, typically, and especially in a startup, you are for a long period in a phase where you are looking at profitability, right? Profitability at a sustainable growth. Right? So, and that is where it becomes very difficult for you to go past your finance or your commercial team, the procurement team, when we look at the projections, and the cloud part is always something which doesn't just seem to be minimizing. So as I said, it's a good problem to have. If your cloud bill is high, that means your user base is potentially high. Now whether it's the paid user base or it's mostly the impressions because of which that base is high, it becomes difficult for us to justify to whoever is running the PNL that this is more of an investment for us to actually build a platform where people would return. And in that entire, you can say, to and fro or dispute, sometimes what happens is there are two aspects. Actually, let me talk about a grid itself. So there are mission critical parts to your business, and then there are peripheral ones. Mission critical ones people do understand. Within that also, there are pieces wherein we are looking at, let's say, a very much static kind of billing or the cost. So how many T2, medium, micro or macro servers I have installed, what is the level of, or anything where I have specifically sized, unless I look at horizontal scaling and that too in an automated fashion. But then on the consumption side, where we look at, again, I was talking about the cloud where the delivery happens, whether you are using CloudFront or something else for that matter. That is where you don't really know. The business wants you to grow, but the business doesn't want the bill to go high. And so that tussle does happen. But I think if we are able to understand that it's not a decision about cloud versus no cloud, it is about making sure that we are in a position to define thresholds, to define milestones, and basis which we are able to look at a progressive growth, so that cost element becomes slightly more reasonable for people in the conference room to talk about in the same terms. I think that is one of the aspects that I would talk about.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Mr. Ninad, your views on the cost aspect of managing, maintaining, running the show?
Absolutely. I think I echo his thoughts as well. It is very imperative for anybody trying to get onto the cloud to understand and to pre-estimate what is going to be the cost first year, second year, third year, and probably fifth year as well. Because that is something which the board is going to ask and is going to look at as well. Fortunately for us, cloud infrastructure currently has evolved to such a great extent that one should be able to understand, not only understand, but compute and calculate that cost probably in the 5-year tenure as well, depending on the business, depending on the growth that you're looking at, depending on the impressions, depending on the transactions that you're going to process, and so on and so forth. So in my understanding, and I would firmly advocate this, going on to cloud, I think the cost is least of the cost computation is the least of the botheration, you know. Scalability is something which is required. One needs to understand, the business needs to understand what is the growth projections, what are the insights, what they're looking for in terms of geographical reach, in terms of your user base as well, and so on and so forth. I'm sure that any of the CFOs or the board members would not look at any cost consideration precisely because cloud gives you that readily handy. You know, it's available out there, you know, and it is black and white, it's transparent. In the earlier scenario where it was on-prem, we never had this kind of insights to cost computation. But now with cloud, you exactly know if I require one core or probably one memory module or 1 DB or even one query that I run on a subscription basis, how much monetary outgo I will have to bear. You know, so it has become very, very easy to be very, very honest with this forum. So I don't think so. The cost is a real consideration as of now, provided that we know where we are heading at.
Sure. Dr. Chitranjan, with you, I want to touch upon I've been dealing with, your organization has been dealing with the data which is like very sensitive, right? So with adoption of cloud and running in cloud, first kind of an organization, right? What are your thoughts on security aspect? What is your advice? What are your thoughts and what is your advice on the adoption security, particularly security?
Basically, we have to build up on the platform itself is the core, is the security, that identity. Who is going to come in our infrastructure, what he is going to do it, how the authentication is going to happen. When we are doing business here in this region, that people are still adopting password with OTP. And whenever I am going to meet with the CIOs and all, they are still talking for, boss, in my village, gaon mein, internet is not working, then how your company is going to secure us. But still they want that the OTP is going to come. If suppose OTP is going to come, then the internet is going to working. Second thing, the OTP fatigue is very common. Your next colleague is going to give your OTP. What we have created that the real-time dual authentication, either with your face, either with your biometric. Even your next stop, your colleague is not going to cheat your face or either your biometric. So this is the core of this product, the core identity what we have. But the adoption level is very low. People still, means I am going to say, one of the public sector that we have made with 5,000 users, and they are looking for our product, but they are not interested to go to only authentication on cloud. They are looking for that the infrastructure is working in their premises, and this is not possible that if suppose we are going to give you in your premises, then the product is not going to actually give you the real benefit behind this. So this is the core of this, and the cloud, the only thing is that this is possible, that's the cloud. Cloud adoption is the way that this type of security product is going to work. Even a smaller, like if antivirus, if suppose earlier days we have to create an antivirus server in their premises, and sometime your system is affected, then the vendor is going to tell you that your server is not updated. And right now everybody is going on the cloud. So this is the adoption. If you are thinking for the real security, then the cloud is the future, and on the basis of that, this is going to happen. Yeah.
Maybe I can add and embellish on that, if I may.
Sure.
So I'm sure a lot of people around here across the world are trying to adopt cloud.
Sure.
You know, and with that comes the most critical element, which is security. Now, everybody wants to adopt cloud, but because of the security aspects, they are a bit hesitant. You know. Mm-hmm. However, I won't say there is a golden mantra out here, but those people who are organizations who are trying to get into the cloud, the following elements can be sort of followed. You know, the first and foremost, there are three key elements here. First is design. Second is monitor. Mm-hmm. And the third is optimize or evolve. Mm-hmm. Sure. Now, you first design your security posture appropriately, depending on your business needs, depending on the data that you want to kind of secure. Sure. You know, so that's the first element. The second element is monitor. Once you design and you implement and execute, you have to pretty much monitor on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. And there are several tools available which can help us in this. Sure. The third is once you design, once you monitor, then you can optimize based on your monitoring capability and the insights that you derive from those monitoring capabilities and the data that comes out. You need to optimize your security posture to ensure that the data is secured. You know, now I coming from the health tech background, and wherein not only PII but PHI data, which is health information, is pretty crucial, critical, and we are supposed to sort of secure it come whatever may. And with the advent of the new DPDP Act which has come in, it becomes that much more important and crucial, and government has kind of clearly laid down the foundation here. Sure. Of course, nobody wants to kind of get penalized for 250 crores here for one per instance, right? Yeah. So it's very important. Correct. The following elements can be done, you know, for an ideal sort of security posture. First and foremost, make sure that you encrypt your data. Whether it's PII, sure. PHI. Now, I'm not saying that you have to encrypt all data. Right. You don't have to encrypt the publicly available data. It's not required. But yes, you need to sort of encrypt your private, confidential information and data from a compliance standpoint, from regulatory standpoint as well. Second is ensure that you have a very strong user authentication. Third being, you ensure that you secure APIs. Somebody in the women's panel were talking about the APIs also. Yep. So we need to certainly secure the APIs, because today's day and age, it's all about APIs. Yep. Fourth is secure your perimeter. Don't allow anybody to come in, unauthorized access, right? Yep. And yet another aspect is implement a very robust zero trust architecture. It definitely helps. Yes. Okay, there are hundreds and gazillion tools available to help us out in this. Yeah. And the last, but not the least, is regular VAPTs, which is vulnerability and assessment testing. Yeah. Yes, you're implementing, executing something, but how do you know whether it is capable enough, whether it is impregnable, right? And that's where the VAPT comes into picture. And the most important element we should not sort of discount is training our people, spreading the awareness
and training. Yeah.
Internal, because the weakest link we all know about this is people. Yeah. So train your people, whether it's your InfoSec team, whether it's your red team, whether it's your green team, but most importantly, train your business users, because that is where the weakest link is. Spread the awareness, do the training programs, conduct this, perform tests, get the consent from them, okay, and then proceed ahead. I think that should be the ideal security posture for any cloud adoption, any organization going on cloud.
Completely in agreement, And I say that, just to wrap up this session, I say that time flies. And I'll tell you why time flies. One, we're having this very interesting conversation, and this can go on for some more time, because there are a lot of other things that we could cover perhaps together. But when I say time flies, I remember one such panel discussion happening back in 2001, which I attended. And there the discussion was that one day will come when just like you open a tap and then the water flows, the connectivity will be all around, right? So from there, we were talking about basic connectivity. It wasn't there, right? From there to connectivity to the cloud enablement, and when these startups, you heard them all, when they got envisaged, they got created, the cloud was not a discussion point. Discussion point was, how do I reach out to my stakeholders, my people that I want to reach out to serve through my startup. And the only way and mechanism was there that you could reach out to them because the cloud was there. So time has really changed. Time flies. So thank you so much for your participation, active participation, and thank you all for your patient listening. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you
so much, gentlemen, for such an enriching session, and of course for sharing your sagacious inputs. May I request Daya sir to kindly present a token of appreciation to each of our panelists. Mr. Daya Prakash presenting it to Mr. Mani. And now Mr. Daya Prakash presenting it to Mr. Akshat Mohan. Come on, can we have a huge round of applause, please? That's Mr. Daya once again presenting the token of appreciation to Mr. Raje. And on the final panelist, we have Mr. Chitranjan, Kesari. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, can we have a huge round of applause for a wonderful session by each of these young gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.